Mir Mostafizur Rahaman, if I can come to you, you're based out of Dhaka. What's happening around you? And what would you say to the point that, lots of people are talking about the similarities of what happened in Sri Lanka and in Bangladesh for that matter, but a big difference is the casualties, the deaths that have happened over the last few days, shocking people and throwing Dhaka into a dark era, if I may say, that many would say is not unprecedented but not expected of a country like Bangladesh or a democracy in 2024. But how is this being looked at in Dhaka?
So the point is there are several issues. First, regarding its impact on India, what I'm telling you very frankly that somehow India had a contribution to these consequences because for the last two terms, the election conducted under this government was not fair and controversial. So many in Bangladesh blamed India for this, and they said that this government was basically groomed by Indian authorities, which ultimately resulted in the growing anti-Indian sentiment in Bangladesh, whereas most of the people in our country are keen to see India as our closest friend and closest neighbor, but the Indian leadership does not understand the pulse of the people of Bangladesh, number one. Number two is the honorable panelist from Sri Lanka rightly said that the casualty is much more higher, that around over 400 people killed in the violence that took place in the last at least 2 weeks. But the thing is that this was the result of wrong handling by the government itself. Because you see, in Sri Lanka at one stage, the government, the ruling party outfits, they did not emerge on the street. But here, in the last couple of days, we have seen that the ruling party youth activists and the student activists, they openly challenged the protesters on the street, which made the entire situation out of control. If they were not on the street, then things could be managed. So far, I understand. And now the Indian government must engage itself with the new government, whoever it is, given the context that BNP has a very sour relationship with China. So I think India should cash in on this issue, and forgetting whoever in the power, whether the Prime Minister Hasina had a very good relationship with the Indian top two political parties, but India should forget it. India should now concentrate on engaging more with the coming leadership.
Right. That's interesting. Prabhu Dayal, if I can get in to respond to what our panelists have just said. And it is an extremely sensitive issue, as he says. It's interesting that he uses the word India did not know the pulse of Bangladesh. When US raised concerns about the elections that happened in Bangladesh, India actually supported Bangladesh for that matter. And they said that, not recognizing or disrupting that would mean inroads for China. It's interesting what the panelist has said, because frankly, let's look at what several neighbors at some point have said. It's almost echoing the same. How does India deal with this very sensitive issue that without any doubt, India is very strong to tackle?
Well, first of all, let me state that whatever has happened in Bangladesh indicates deep felt anger against the Sheikh Hasina government. And that government was perceived by the people of Bangladesh as being close to India. So their anger against Sheikh Hasina's government had been growing over time. And there were some indications that there were some external factors also which were increasing this anger. Now, what should India do? Your question. First of all, India must wait and watch. I entirely agree with what Mr. Mujibur Rahman just now said, that India must try and cultivate a good relationship with whichever government takes over, though this is not going to be easy. And it's not going to be easy because of the fact that the outgoing government, the government of Sheikh Hasina, was seen as being close to India. So the natural tendency for the new government would be to try and pull away from India. However, diplomacy is the art of the possible. And we have to work towards making a good relationship with the new government in Bangladesh a possible fact. We have to work towards achieving this sort of good relationship. And we can do it, Bangladesh and India are, of course, tied together. We are not only neighbors, but we have been friends.
Right.
And with assistance packages, loans, and good trade deals, we can ensure that our eastern neighbor is not too hostile. Of course, with China in the north and Pakistan in the west, we already have a very hostile neighborhood. And we also have to factor in what you pointed out earlier, that the new government in Nepal is also closer to China than it seemed to be towards India. So what should not be allowed to happen,
even Maldives,
as far as we are concerned in Bangladesh, is that the new government becomes hostile to us and draws towards certain other countries which are inimical to India's interests. I think we have to work towards, for instance, ensuring that the transit rights to our northeastern states, which Sheikh Hasina's government had given to us, are continued by the new government. But there is, no doubt, a very big challenge which lies ahead for us, and we have to try and ensure that our relationship with Bangladesh stays stable and that there is no unnecessary instability in our neighborhood on account of the change of government in Bangladesh.